and the president cancelling it is a demonstration that he is sensitive and he is responsive to the needs and the expectation of the people of Kenya. So, Speaker, the only thing I want to ask him is that in future, we must always ensure that we are doing due diligence before we enter into contracts that might in future put us in problems and into shame that we have seen with the Adani deal. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the President because for a very, very long time, while Kenyans under Article 43 gave the government a responsibility of ensuring that they give Kenyans affordable and quality healthcare. The previous regime had failed to provide this, but I'm happy that now through SHA, we are now rolling down the provision of universal healthcare. I thank the President, Honorable Speaker, that the government has gone out of its way to invest and put money in the roll down of SHA, and especially in payment of debts that even sometimes, Mr. Speaker, that have been outstanding even for the last 10 years, especially for the private facilities and faith-based facilities, and even some public facilities, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, my only prayer and wish is that county governments must also do their part. National government is doing so well in provision of the software. The county government must also provide the hardware. The hardware, this means the responsibility of building hospitals, the level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, level 5. It is clearly under Schedule 4 under the county government. And so the county government must also do their part in supporting the national government in the provision of healthcare infrastructure and also even issues around medicine. That is the work of the county government. Mr. Speaker, we cannot provide Kenyans a healthcare that is affordable without county government doing their part. And Mr. Speaker, I also want to thank His Excellency on the issue of education. I know the President is doing everything that he can to ensure that he reforms education. My only prayer again is that we must also go out of our way to ensure that we prepare the country and the ministry well as we roll down now grade 9 in 2025. Mr. Speaker, finally, I want to also ask the President, thank the President in the steps he's taking in addressing the reforms in the sugarcane sector. The many factors that now are alive and are working, and just ask him, ask the judiciary, because a factor like Nzoia is having problems because of the many cases that are in court. Our judiciary must also be pragmatic enough to ensure that some of these cases do not really stall for so long and disrupt the process of reforms in the sugar sector. Mr. Speaker, I just want to complete by saying President was clear that the country is on the right track. And I just want to ask him that we have done so much, but so much is yet to be done. The many promises that we made,
Give him half a minute. Conclude in half a minute, please.
Why order? Mr. Speaker, I just want to complete by saying that the President was so clear that the country is on the right track. And I want to ask him that so much has been done, but so much is yet to be done, especially on the many promises that we made the people of Kenya, especially in terms of the completion of the stalled projects, the roads, and many other things. So I just want to ask him, he has our support. We must also go out of way to ensure that we really fulfill these promises that we made to our people. Thank you.
Yes, the Honorable MP for Sotik. and then followed by MP Foruiru and Gatundu. Honorable members, we have a session immediately after this. The new session that's going to start at 6:45. And I think all of you who are here and the chair has taken note of you will have the first opportunity to contribute on this matter.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity. You have given me to address this House on the issue which is at hand, the national address of the President, which is enshrined in the Constitution. Mr. Speaker, I want to say from the onset that the speech by the President was very clear, well balanced, and pragmatic. Mr. Speaker, I want to mention, because I listened from the word go, I want to mention that what impressed me, Mr. Speaker, was the tone of the speech. Number one, he said the state of the nation depends on individuals in this country and collective responsibility of all Kenyans. That's number one. Number two, Mr. Speaker, he also said that listening is a full-time occupation of leadership to carry people forward. Mr. Speaker, that was a very strong indication that the President was giving us hope. He told us where we have come from, where we are, and where we are going. Mr. Speaker, it was very clear. Mr. Speaker, I want to mention a number of areas which it came to my mind and I thought I should mention here. Number one, Mr. Speaker, was the issue of education system. The CPC, for example. Where I come from, Swatik, we have a problem with teachers, and it was reassuring, Mr. Speaker, to hear the President tell us that while we have employed 56,000 teachers, we are yet to employ 20,000 next year. Mr. Speaker, I want to ask the TSC, while employing teachers, please look at those teachers who finished their college in 2009. In Swatik, we have very many of those cases, Mr. Speaker. And we would like that the TSC gives them a priority. Mr. Speaker, I want to say also Taifa Care. The Taifa Care, the SHA, the new model of system of health. I want to applaud the President. And I want to thank in Swatik, Mr. Speaker, we now have all the chiefs. Everybody is now working on the SHA. And I'm very sure we will be able to achieve what we want. I think all of us must work on this issue. Mr. Speaker, one area I would like to mention also is the issue of food security. Mr. Speaker, I come from an area where we have agriculture and livestock as a mainstay of the economy. And Mr. Speaker, I would like to thank the President for addressing the issue of production by giving up subsidized fertilizer, because now, Mr. Speaker, what we are now seeing is that food is in plenty everywhere. The only worry we have, Mr. Speaker, now is about the prices of this maize, which will be produced in large numbers. And therefore, we will ask the President to make sure that we have the prices stabilized. Another issue, Mr. Speaker, is the issue of KCC. The price of milk per liter now in Swatik is 50 shillings, and we want to see it going to 55. Mr. Speaker, I want to urge the government to upgrade Swatik KCC to a higher grade, because now Swatik is a municipality, and we need to have that KCC plant upgraded to a higher grade so that we can have better salaries and also so that we can be able to absorb more milk. Mr. Speaker, on Adani, Mr. Speaker, I want to applaud the President. It was a good move. We support him, and we want to see that the JKIA, Mr. Speaker, is immediately done to a better standard, because we need to have a better airport, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to share on this speech of the head of state. From the onset, Mr. Speaker, may I start by appreciating the speech because it instilled hope into Kenyans. And what human beings require most to live is hope. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, what inspired me most also is the president noting that there is a need to listen. And actually, he walked the talk. It is out of listening now that Adani deal is out of our way. If it were not for listening, Mr. Speaker, it had still been in our way. It is through education, Mr. Speaker, whereby we can able to uplift our economy and our well-being. And when the Kenya Kwanza government came, the first thing it did is to employ 56,000 teachers. And still, out of instilling hope into Kenyans, the president reminded us that he is going, or the government is going to employ another 20,000 teachers to improve the standard of education. And that is still a hopeful life which we need to have in this country. Mr. Speaker, Kenya is a developing country, and we have industries coming in. The president mentioned and gave a lot of weight on TVET. We cannot be able to work in our industry if we have no capacity matters education, and the government is working on TVET per constituency, whereby the government facilitates. And he mentioned about the new budget, whereby all the TVET in the constituency will be facilitated to be able to make good working team who can work in the country and out of the country. Mr. Speaker, it is good to note that Kenya is sending a lot of young ones out of this country. And the president mentioned about several BLMAs, whereby we can have good engagement with other people out there so that Kenyans can work, improve their standard of living, and also improve the standard of living of their people down here through remittance, Mr. Speaker. Noting that he also mentioned about improving the rates of remittance of those people who are working outside this country. Mr. Speaker, on health, health is a crucial line which we cannot gamble with. And he mentioned about the new scheme, whereby we need to adhere to so that we can improve our health, especially for those who are less benefiting from working. And on that, Mr. Speaker, for me, I say this to my fellow Kenyans, just register. Let's comment when you have registered. Don't talk when you have not registered, because you not benefit, you have not registered. And the strategy was put whereby people can be able to register, and then for other things follow. Mr. Speaker, the president also talked about ICT. We are in the world of ICT, and the government is committed to creating ICT hubs. In Rural, we have 2. And last Tuesday, Mr. Speaker, about 150 graduated, and now they can work outside the country where they are still here in Kenya. Mr. Speaker, we should also commend the president because he mentioned about gender violence, which is critical. And if it's not looked into, then the country is not stable. But since the president talked about it, and we will continue supporting the president on the same, I think we will be able to live in this country well. Mr. Speaker, I know many things will be done, will be said, but if they are not acted on, then it will be futile. So let us concentrate, stick on what we are told, and then work on them, and all will be well for us as Kenyans. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The MP for Gatundu South.
Thank you, Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to contribute to this debate regarding the State of the Nation address given by the President last Thursday. Mr. Speaker, we have talked about, or the president talked about fertilizer subsidy, because the president took a very bold step in walking the less walked path and made sure that we are not going to subsidize food or consumption, and instead we subsidize production. Mr. Speaker, in the year 2022, we had imported sugar worth $269 million. That is about 40 billion shillings. We had imported maize worth 24 billion shillings. This is now money that is in the pockets of Kenyans. This is money that has come back to this country. Mr. Speaker, if you look at the deficit in the balance of payment from 2003, it has consistently come up from $0.89 billion US dollars to a whopping $10.55 billion in 2022. It is only in 2023 that the deficit in balance of payment went down to 9.53, almost $1 billion. This is because the biggest contributor after petroleum has been sugar, fertilizer, has been maize. And what a shame, Mr. Speaker, that we pride ourselves that our staple food is maize, and we're importing it from other countries. But Mr. Speaker, this administration took the bold move to say that we shall no longer import maize. Right now, in our stores, we have 47 million bags, 90 kilograms bags. If you have to take that at 25 shillings, at 2,500 shillings, we have maize worth 117 billion shillings. If we did not have this, we would have been importing that value. And at the current rate of dollar, then you can see the amount of money that would have been contributing to the deficit in the balance of payment. Mr. Speaker, the president talked of the issue of housing. The story that has not been told about housing is that, you know, we have 14% of our GDP going to government and going to taxes. But the rest of the money, why Kenyans are not able to put food on the table is because the cost of housing is so high in this country. Mr. Speaker, we were trying, and the government is trying to dissuade private investors into going to building houses, because if you look at this country, the cost of housing is so high and housing is so lucrative. So everybody who has $1 million shillings, 100 million shillings in the bank will go and build a flat and only end up employing 2 people, a caretaker and a watchman. And that money should have gone into production. I was having lunch yesterday with the gentleman, and he told me he has sold his flat and went and started production in Kiserian. He's now employing 75 people with the same 100 million shillings that he had put up a flat in Kino. Mr. Speaker, when the nation takes over the work of housing people, then the private money is taken into production. We stop making housing lucrative, government takes it, and then private money is taken into production. That is how we are going to create employment, because, Mr. Speaker, the government cannot employ people, but employment is created by the private sector. And how do you make private sector employ people? You create fiscal policies that will entertain and encourage people to put their money in what is able to create employment. So, Mr. Speaker, if you look at how housing has been done in the past, we have been doing housing in a fashion that everything is tailor-made. Because when I'm doing a house in South B, I want my own windows, my own style of doors, my own style. But in this system, then production becomes easy because we're using the same doors, we're using the same hinges, we're using the same windows, and production becomes easy. This is a trend in all the developed world. Housing is a function of government. And Mr. Speaker, I have had the issue on education. And allow me to say this. I can see my time is coming to an end. Please add me 1 minute. So that I say this. On issue that has been vilified of education funding model, Mr. Speaker, it's a shame. You and I are people of means, and our children go to the same university where the people who cannot even afford to place a meal on the table are called to the same university and treated the same. You're asked to pay the same amount of money that that person who is at the lowest.
You have half a minute, and then we.
So, Mr. Speaker, what I'll say is, even as if we listen to the tone of the president, he's a president who has now seen that we need to listen. He said we must listen to the people and we listen to them. But we also need to be very careful that we do not vilify every project that the government comes up with. Because in the end, we, the people who are on social media and in the mainstream media who are vilifying this, need to know that we're also in this country. If this country collapses, and the success of this government is the success of every Kenyan. So I submit and I support the speech that was made by the president. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members. Honorable members, we are going to have a session shortly. And I have taken note of the fact that many members of parliament have been sitting the whole afternoon here, the MP for Turkana Central, MP for Ikalemani, the MP Honorable Kiragu, Mazamzam, Nigori MP, Manduku, Rueda, Betrezelachi, Mawade, Mishimboko, and a few others. The chair will make sure that you get an opportunity, a dialysis opportunity. And Chinali, of course, Chinali is there. All of you honorable members will get an opportunity, and it's likely that the same person is going to be on the chair. And under the circumstances, order, under the circumstances, honorable members, the time being 6:35 p.m., this House stands adjourned until today, Monday, the 25th of November, the year 2024, at 6:45 p.m. So we have slightly more than 10 minutes to refresh up, and then we come back together and continue with another session.
Unatazama Sound Candy Talk. Toa sauti yako usikike. Tuko bora kwenye mitandao ya YouTube, Facebook, TikTok na X kwa taarifa tendeti, udadavuzi mwafaka na makala muhimu yanayokuhusu. Tazama Sound Candy Talk upate ufahamu.
Basi wa Kenya, wakati mnapotazama,
I have stated in the past and now reiterate today that in the face of undisputed evidence or credible information on corruption, I will not hesitate to take decisive action. Accordingly, I now direct, in furtherance of the principles enshrined in Article 10 of the Constitution on transparency and accountability, and based on new information provided by investigative agencies and partner nations, that the procuring agencies within the Ministry of Transport and the Ministry of Energy and Petroleum immediately cancel the ongoing procurement process for the JKIA expansion public-private partnership transaction, as well as
Unatazama Sound Candy Talk. Toa sauti yako usikike.